สวัสดีครับผมแอนดรูนะครับและวันนี้ผมจะทำแกงเขียวหวานไก่สูตรของผมให้ดูนะครับรับรองว่าอร่อยแน่นอนลองดูแล้วก็ลองทำนะครับ Okay, that's the intro done. This section here is for the people who want to bone out their own chicken. If you're not into that kind of thing, then please feel free to skip this part and go to the butcher shop and buy 3 bone-in skin-on chicken thighs, and that'll just about do you for 4 or 5 people. Okay, so I've portioned the chicken into drumsticks, wings and breasts and reserved the chicken frame for stock. Now I'm going to use 2 thighs, 2 drumsticks and a breast. And in hindsight, that is way too much for this dish. I really just needed the Marylands, which is the thigh and the drumstick meat, and I could have just saved that breast for another dish, another time. You absolutely don't need to debone the thighs. It's a matter of habit for me. I take the bones out so I can crack them, get maximum flavour out of it, and then have the option of taking them out of the curry before I serve it. Having said that, I always forget to take them out, so it's kind of a pointless exercise for me. I'd have to be really on my game to remember to do that. I seem to have moved on to the skin in the video, so I better talk about it. I'm currently scraping as much fat as I can off the underside of the skin. Doesn't really matter how tidy, neat, pretty this is. You just want to get the fat off. And when you're done, just throw the skin in a bowl. And you want to add maybe half a teaspoon of fish sauce, a little dash of pepper, give it a marinate, and put it aside. Okay, this is curry paste part A, the easy bit. We just got to chop everything up real fine. And that's just because trying to make a paste out of bashing 2 rocks together isn't easy, so you want as much of a head start as possible. And in this curry paste, the most critical thing is the lemongrass. Chilies are not so critical in this one because they're green and they're fresh, not dry. Dry ones are much harder to pound. The turmeric, the gochai, the garlic and the coriander roots, just chopped up, they'll pound okay. But the onion you kind of want to chop up fairly well because the paste is quite wet by the time the onions go in, so the bigger the pieces the harder they are to pound down. Rightio, so that's it for the fresh things. Now on to the dry things. We just want to toast our coriander seeds first in lowish heat. Once you feel like they're about half done, you chuck in the cumin seeds and then you wait for a little bit of smoke, good smell, and a little bit of popping from the cumin seeds, and that's them done. Last but certainly not least, I don't really think you can make many Thai curries without this beautiful thing, shrimp paste. I'm going to chuck in a bit more. Yeah, just roast it up in some foil, in a banana leaf if you've got some. Just let it roast on a gentle heat while you start pounding the other ingredients. And now we move on to the next section. Long and arduous for me, it may well be for you too, but there's nothing better for a curry paste than a good pounding. Now, having said that, this is one curry where you can cheat if you wish and use a spice grinder and or a blender, and that's because the absence of galangal and the use of fresh chilies instead of dry makes the whole thing a little bit easier to grind. Now, if you were going to use the combination of those, I would toast your dry spices, grind them in the spice grinder, and then I would chuck in the lemongrass and grind that as well, and then chuck all of the rest of the wet ingredients in a mini food processor and grind it up as fine as you possibly can. Once that's done, then you just mix the lemongrass and spice with the wet mix, and that's your curry paste. At the end of that process, I would strongly suggest putting it back in a mortar and pestle. You really want those ingredients to get to know each other in a far more organic way. Machines really just don't do it for curry paste. And also, if someone happens to walk in, they're going to be really impressed that you made a curry paste that smooth with a mortar and pestle. I'm sure that's what happens in a lot of YouTube videos. But this curry paste is all analog, as you can tell by the ridiculous amount of mortaring and pestling going on. I like to think of it as a small price to pay for a delicious curry, free therapy and a workout. And there we have it, all done. It's green. And speaking of green, vegetables. If you can get these apple eggplants, I highly recommend it, but you can use the skinny Japanese eggplants if you must. Chilies, just regular long chilies, just cut on a bias. Then you shred up the guacai into fine strips. I prefer not to buy the already shredded stuff in a brine because I think that the brine gets into the flesh too much and you lose the flavour of the guacai. And look, don't stress if you can't find guacai. It's not a deal breaker and your curry will still be very delicious. Onto the makrut lime leaves. We're basically just going to tear the spines out of them. Half of them we're going to add to the curry as it's cooking, and the other half we're going to julienne to dress. Try and get your hands on some of these pea eggplants if you can. The pleasant bitterness sort of counteracts the mild sweetness of the curry and also makes you feel like a bit of a grown-up. Okay, just get these lime leaves julienne nice and fine, and then we're on to the last step before the big show. Unless you make your own coconut milk from coconuts, get one of these. A box of milk, 1 litre, no emulsifiers, no stabilisers, very important. Spoon all the cream off the top and use the remaining milk to finish the curry. This is the only way that you will get the cream to split, thus enabling you to fry the curry in the coconut oil. This top tip has been brought to you by Andrew's Top Tips. I think it's about time to make a curry. Let's go. I'm going to use my brass wok today, but that's only because I've got one. You can use a pot. I'm just using it because it's good for caramelising coconut milk. Distributes heat really, really well. The aim here is, as I mentioned before, to split the milk. So we're on a reasonably low heat at the moment. I'm just going to boil this milk and it's going to do 2 things. Firstly, the sugars are going to start to caramelise around the edges of the wok where the flame is touching the sides. And secondly, the oil will split out of the proteins in the milk and you'll end up with a good way to fry your curry paste instead of boiling it. And we have achieved split milk. Yes, time to go. Yeah, don't do that, idiot. Gently place your curry paste into the boiling oil and give it a good old mix. Basically, you're still trying to caramelise those coconut milk sugars, but you're also trying to cook out the rawness of the curry paste. Notice that it's quite brown. That's caramelising. You don't want it to burn, that's why I keep agitating it. And what you do is you moisten it every now and then and loosen up the caramelised sugars off the bottom of the pan. Once the aroma rounds out and you notice that the oil is split from the paste, next step is to make the curry a chicken one. There we go. Give that a good old mix. And what we're trying to do now is to keep on caramelising and occasionally loosening off the bottom of the pan with more coconut milk. I'm waiting for the chicken to release its juices into the sauce. So now we have the caramelised coconut milk, the curry paste and the juices from the chicken, making it all very delicious indeed. And to be honest, if you dumped it all in at the same time, it would still be delicious. This just yields a more complex and interestingly flavoured curry. Here ends the opinion. And now we add some salt in the form of fish sauce. I just chucked in a couple of tablespoons there to get it started. We're going to adjust as we go. And right now we pretty much have a curry. You could skip to the end and not watch me stirring stuff, but other things are going to happen, so it's up to you. You can watch. Here's a précis if you don't want it. I'm going to add a whole bunch of coconut milk soon, and then I'm going to tweak and adjust the flavours. I'm going to add the vegetables. Well, you might as well hang around now. There's the milk. There we go. Bring that to the boil. Basically that's going to cook the chicken fully and really get those flavours sort of spread out. Oh yeah, that's looking pretty good. It's definitely green, and it'll become greener as the sauce thickens. One note on the green. Yeah, the green in a green Thai curry comes from the chilies. In this particular recipe, there are 30 chilies. So I don't know if you paused and counted them, but there's definitely 30 chilies in there. And look, it's not as hot as you think it's going to be. And the reason is that the fat in the coconut milk stops the chili from taking over all of your taste buds. If you put in 6 or 10 chilies, it won't even be worth calling a curry. It will just be like eating a stew. If you're going to make this curry, trust me, try it with 20. Don't go under 20 and you'll thank me, or you'll hate me. No, you'll be right. Go for it. Okay, so in we go with the pea eggplants, and now a surprise guest that you don't have to invite to your party. That is fresh pig's blood. I would have used chicken blood, but I can't get it. It's delicious. Try it. If you don't want to try it, not adventurous, leave it out. It's not a problem. So that's in with the makrut lime leaves and the eggplants. Give that a bit of a stir. It's looking very much like a curry. Yeah. I'll throw in the gachai. Now I'm just going to let the curry do its thing and moisten it occasionally. Taste it a lot. Just to see if the flavours are coming together. They will be. It's just a matter of balancing them. There we go. A little bit of milk. You should have a taste. How's that? Oh, another taste. And? Thoughts? Oh, that was a little bit of palm sugar that went in there. Usually I don't need to put in palm sugar because the coconut milk is sweet enough, but this time it just seems like it could do with a little bit of help. And a little bit of salt to balance out that sweetness that just came in. Oh, must be hungry. Geez, that's looking good. See the oil? So green. And that looks good. Editing these videos it makes me pretty hungry. Don't know about you watching them. And speaking of hungry, it's time to cook the next part of the dish. Yeah, that's right. It's noodles, not rice. These noodles are called Kanom Jeen. I did them in another recipe, the recipe for the Nam Nhiao, which I suggest that you watch and try cooking as well, because that is also delicious. It also contains pig's blood. Sorry about that. Anyway, these noodles, just 5 to 7 minutes in really hot water. Basically, when they're soft but not too soft, you tip them out and rinse them really, really well in cold water because they're very, very starchy and they'll stick together like glue. There we go. That's it. Done. Easy peasy. And now you get to find out what we're going to do with that chicken skin. If you haven't already guessed, we are going to deep fry it. It's the old lemongrass thermometer. You can use any vegetable you like. And basically drop the chicken skin into moderately hot oil. Make sure that you've dried it as much as you can on a paper towel before you put it in. And you just agitate it around in the oil until it goes delightfully crispy. The reason that I scraped as much of the fat off as I could earlier was because if you don't do that, the skin can retain some soft spots where the fat is, and nobody wants chewy chicken skin chips, do they? Anyway, these are about done. If we can manage to get them to the bowl, they're going to be part of the garnish that goes on top of the curry. They often don't make it for obvious reasons. This is not Italian basil. Use only Thai basil, or if you can find it, some holy basil. Sprinkle it over the top, turn off the heat, mix it in, get your bowl ready because we are done. Nearly. You've got to get the noodles ready. So use a fork, the palm of your hand, and make little coils. Pop them on a plate, just like that. Very, very easy. You don't have to do this, it just makes it easier to pick up individual serves this way. And then we race over apparently with our wok and we just chuck all of that delicious looking curry into a bowl. Oh, that looks pretty good. Dress the top with the kaffir lime leaves and the chilies. Chuck on your basil. Looks like some of the chicken skin survived, so chuck that on as well and drizzle on some coconut cream. Could have done that first, would have been prettier. Speaking of pretty, have a look at this. Oh my god. Like, tell me you don't want it. Oh, and just for the record, it was really delicious. And I recommend that you make it for yourself and you eat it. I don't think you'll be disappointed. This message has been brought to you by me, and I endorse this curry.